good. What are you burning in here? It smells gorgeous.
Just different things.
Well, I feel very soothed coming in your home.
I'm glad. It's meant to be.
I feel welcomed and soothed.
I'm glad.
And even when the music came in, like you played my jam, girl.
Yes, I'm glad.
It's all like Tibetan chants.
I think, our homes always, I think they have to be cocoons.
Yes.
Places where we just completely let ourselves.
Exactly. First thing I noticed coming in your home was I went straight for your table and I saw all of the different art pieces here. I'm certain there's a story when...
Well, actually, there is a story in the sense that each of these pieces, they have an emotional resonance with me. They were given to either, my parents, or they were handed down to me from my great-great-grandmother, some of the pieces. That actually was given as a gift to my father by Zhou Enlai. So when my father joined the Burmese Prime Minister for a state visit in Beijing, Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai were in power then, and Zhou Enlai personally gave the members of the Prime Minister's party gifts, and this was given by Zhou Enlai to my father.
So fascinating, there's art inside.
Yes,
also.
And I always feel the Chinese are the masters of carving. So all the pieces that you see here, they weren't collected just for the sake of collecting, but they all have different stories. So back then, it was considered improper for a woman, a certain class, to smoke cigarettes. But it was absolutely acceptable, strangely enough, to smoke cigars and cheroots and hand-rolled cheroots. And I remember my grandmother was very proper, but it was such a visual disjunct when you would see her with her little cheroot and then, of course, then the lighters, right? This one in particular, I bought this in a gallery in Seattle. And, my husband and I lost our third child, and she was almost full term, and she lived for 5 minutes. Her name was Alexandra. And when I saw this, this artist did a remarkable job creating a 3D image, but it reminded me of, the images in ultrasounds.
Yes, that's true.
In the last trimester. So I just thought, his work was amazing, and it was also something that reminded me of the child we lost.
That brings me to your childhood. I had read that you born and raised in Burma. Am I
was
wrong?
born in Burma. I left it before I turned 3. And then I grew up, and I was very lucky to have most of my childhood in Austria, which was an amazing place to be a child. I think if one had to have the perfect childhood, it would have been in Austria.
When I've only been to Vienna once, and the first feeling I got that this is a very artful community.
It's a very artful.
And talking to you and being with you, I'm like, okay, there's some type of connection.
I think it's a place definitely where people value culture.
Yes.
And they value traditions, they value their craft.
And then Philippines, how did this come into?
Well, my father passed away very young, and my mother continued, there was a radiation leak. So he passed away within a space of a month after that. And my mother decided to stay in Vienna for a little while longer, and my grandmother had cancer. And she would travel from Rangoon to Austria and then to Switzerland for treatments. And then my mother realized, in Vienna we grew up with a lot of friends. As we were growing, they told her, why don't you move to Manila? Because, it's really very safe. And then my mother was offered a position with the Asian Development Bank. And she thought about what her friends had said. It's a perfect mix of the East and the West. And that's how we ended up here. And it was close for my grandmother to come for treatments.
So that's how it happened.
That's how it happened.
Because they say you have the heart of a Filipino. And then
the Philippines is my home. I love this country.
Share me what it is about the Philippines that does make your heart beat, that makes you appreciate living and being here.
I always tell friends, and I always tell young people now how much they should appreciate living in the Philippines, because Well, first of all, Filipinos, even in Burma, they are always wanted so much. They're so well liked amongst all Asians because the personality of a Filipino, it's makikisama, and it's so easy to make a Filipino happy. Even in the hardest of circumstances, they find joy. There's always something that you can find joy with. And Filipinos are very open. They can embrace cultures. And you know, for me and my sisters, that was something we learned as children. We were third culture kids. We never felt we were Burmese or Austrian or Asian, or we weren't slotted. So we grew up with so many cultures, and we felt it was absolutely normal to be a melange, to be a little of everything. And when we arrived in the Philippines, it was exactly as we hoped it would be. It was warm, it was embracing, it was accepting. Of course, you know, I'm married here in Orby, and I've been married for almost 40 years. We have kids, we have 3 grandsons already, and hope to add more. And this is my home. My friends are here, my life is here, everything that I love is here, so.
Global citizen of the world, Wynn Wynn Ong. You.
Filipina at heart.
Filipina. But when we come back on Women of Style, more of Wynn Wynn Ong and her philosophy and her artistry.
I don't force my pieces. They have to be born naturally.
Ang galing-galing mo! Smart dishwashing paste ko! Pritong ulam na masebo, plato o kaldero. Tanggaling for everyday.
Ganyan pag smart ang dishwashing paste. May double tanggaling formula. Tanggal ang sebo, tanggal ang bakterya.
Pahit para walang pahit, linis fantastic sa metal at plastic na barakuta. Tanggaling-galing mo, smart dishwashing paste. ACS.
As promised, Banker After Dark will come up with special or one-off shows when we have special guests worth interviewing. So I hope you watch on February 20.
It's very, very difficult to have a finance job or any of these big jobs in government now when 80 or 90% of the stuff that happens is beyond your control.
And February 27.
This is the time that we can now even just do this advocacy of helping people invest in the stock market because we saw its benefit.
And that you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed interviewing them. My mother told me when she found out I was an investment banker, Stevie, I want to double my money in the stock market, but sure, huh? And I hope it adds to your financial knowledge and your general information.
To be honest, I think people like you and me, we just be bad at it.
Exactly, I agree.
Burmese by birth, but very much Filipino at heart. From designing heirloom jewelry to handcrafted furniture and clothing, Wynn Wynn Ong continues to push the boundaries and redefine what it means to be an artist. As you were saying, Wynn, earlier in that gold piece, you were talking about how, as an artist, when you have a creation, Joey, it takes time. And I can understand because there's such a thought process. There's a waiting period. Are you sure? And the craftsmanship. But this is life.
It
as
is
an
life.
artist?
It is, you know, I mean, I'm always very hesitant to use the term artist on myself, but I think for anyone who creates things, I think you have to give things time. One of the things that's very fortunate for me was I never had to rush the process because I wasn't driven by numbers. I never had to have at the back of my head, I must produce, I must sell, I must this. And the whole process of making the pieces that I do, whether it's jewelry or furniture or homeware, it's driven by my internal need to see the piece that's in my head become real. So there is a gestation period. When I come out with the one collection I do every year, I would always have a period of thinking, and sometimes even in the first trimester, even in the second trimester of the piece being born, I change my mind and change the direction. So I don't want to use terms like abort, but maybe I stop the process a bit, take a step back and see how I want it, and I set it aside. I don't force my pieces. They have to be born naturally.
And then living and being here, I feel your love and appreciation. And how did Wynn Wynn Ong enter the world of jewelry, art? This is a completely wide category for you.
It is.
Which you have played in different elements.
It's a very unglamorous start to a profession, you know, from 18 years ago, simply because I could never find the kind of jewelry I wanted. And I remember back then, and I always say I have no regrets, but when my mother would offer me her sets, I'd say, no thanks, Mom, because, you know, back then everything was a set. Earrings had to match the brooch, had to match the ring, had to match the bracelet, and it wasn't my thing. It still isn't, but the pieces were beautiful. And looking around, the pieces were boring, things that I would see in stores. So I just started playing around with jewelry.
With no background or formal training in design and gemology, Wynn Wynn's once-in-a-lifetime achievements continue to be a source of inspiration to all. Her masterpieces are so meticulously made, the craftsmanship is unparalleled, her designs are beyond the most vivid of imaginations, which makes a Wynn Wynn Ong piece truly remarkable.
And that brings me, not just jewelry was an avenue for you to create, but you also extended with furniture, or lamps, I'm told.
Well, with homeware, it started only because I had joked to Ricky and Chito that I was going to create some resin bowls that, you know, we would paint it to look like ivory or to look like agate. And he announced it, you know, in the Inquirer that Wynn Wynn is going to come up with a homeware line.
Oh, no.
And I said, what? And so I had to scramble, and that was my first homeware. And I realized that I loved it, and my friends loved it. I like challenges, and I like knowing if things can be done. And what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work. But I learned a new craft along the way.